Welcome to Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 182. My name is Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People, joined by the incredible Jamil Damji. Jamil, how are you, brother?
Excellent, dude. How are you?
You look cozy in your California escape house.
It's wonderful. I'm looking out check this out.
Yeah.
Just right out there is the good old Pacific Blue.
I love it. Do you love it there?
It's incredible. I open up the sliding door and I got the ocean breeze coming in here. I'm looking at the sun off in the distance. At some point here, it'll set while I'm watching Wholesale Hotline. This, my friend, is a result of wholesale done right.
That's right. You know, I was thinking about it today, Jamil. I was thinking about, really building this right from the start, building a wholesaling business up. We talk about having conversations with people that own distressed properties or the people that represent the people that own distressed properties. We talk about making offers. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, occasional conversations, occasional offers, occasional appointments brings occasional results.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Consistent conversations, consistent offers, consistent appointments brings consistent results. Why do you think it's so hard to be consistent in this business, Jamil?
I think the tough part for consistency is an extremely interesting concept. I've been diving into it and really doing my best to understand the mechanism behind consistency and why it's so elusive. And I think what it is because we have misdirected where we place value. I think what's happened is as a society and as just people that we've been trained for instant, very quick result. We look, everything that we've done as a society and everything that we do that gets big, right? Look at Facebook, look at Google, look at the internet, look at all of the things that we've had in the world that have become massive movements. They happen because they allow the human to get what they want faster.
Sure.
And because we've trained ourselves to this idea that everything should be available at the snap of a finger, just like our groceries, just like everything else, even love. They got Tinder and Bumble. And, I watched Bobby. He was single for a little while and he was on Bumble and I'm like, what are you doing? He's shopping for a date. And when I see that, right, I think, okay, well, this is the symptom.
Yeah.
The symptom is we've been trained to want instant gratification. And I think what we really need to do as entrepreneurs and as people, if we really want a rich and full life, I don't think that the result should be what we obsess about. I think consistency is what we should obsess about. I think that we should redirect where we place value, and value should be placed on those who show up, the person or the situation that can be repetitive, that can be available all the time. What's the best dad? The dad who's always there. Who's the best mom? The mom that's unconditionally supportive and loving. Why? The consistency.
Yep.
Nobody ever said, I love my random ass parents. No, they love the parent that showed up.
Yep. Isn't this a factor of discipline? Isn't it a factor of doing what you're going to say? I mean, I feel like at times, just being an entrepreneur, you have these big, hairy, audacious goals, and then you get like 65-70% of the way there, and then all of a sudden you get distracted. You get pulled in other ways. You know what I mean? Other things, other opportunities either come into your life, or you just feel like, you know what, I'm good with this goal. I'm going to change other goals. Is that okay? Is it okay to just change goals after you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, or is it something that we should focus on until we get it? That makes us stronger as professionals, as entrepreneurs, as business owners. Or should we just see where things take us?
Another really interesting thing, because we always when you have a goal, and when you and I both know this, you've hit financial goals how many times, as have I. You first opened my mind to somebody who could make $100,000 a month. When you said those words to me, Brent, however many years ago, when you were still just budding, I know your career has gotten even bigger since, but when you explained to me that you could take home over $100,000 in a month, you unlocked in my mind a gate. You unlocked a limit that I had in my head of what people, because you think $100,000, you think that's what we've been trained to accept, that as a good salary for a job. $100,000 a year, $160,000 a year is like, oh my goodness, you've made it. So if you're in that range of making $100,000 or even $200,000 a year, you think, man, I've arrived. And then you learn and you hear from somebody who can do $100,000 in a month, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's not. How is that even possible? And then when you draw a new box around your head, the box around your feet gets bigger too.
That's right.
Just like a fish can only grow as big as its bowl, you increase the size of your bowl by increasing the size of the box around your mind. And some of us luck out enough to where we just shatter the box altogether and you become unlimited. But is it okay to quit before you get there? Guys, don't sell yourselves short. The fact is you better get to the goal first before you decide whether or not it was worth it. You better get to the goal before you decide whether or not it's worth it, because if you don't, you're a liar. You just said you didn't care about it because you were too much of a wimp to try to get it all the way through. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude about it, but I think that if you showed up to Wholesale Hotline tonight, if you've got that fire in your belly, if you want what you want out of life, if you give up on that, not only did you show yourself that you won't show up for you, but you're teaching your kids the same thing.
Well, and it's a skill. I mean, it's a skill like anything else. Hitting your goals is a skill. Focus is a skill. Having the discipline to do the boring work day in and day out. I heard from a old mentor of mine. I was just watching some old tapes, some old recordings, and he was talking about mindset. And I had never heard it put out this way, Jamil, and I wanted to get your opinion. But he said, we have to be honest about where your skills are. The level of skills that you have, it will help determine your confidence, which then is essentially interchangeable with the word mindset. So how do you build skills if you change tracks all the time? How do you build the skills of lead generation? How do you build the skills of converting those into signed agreements? How do you convert that into an assignment? How do you convert that into double closing or flipping a property or whatever else? These are all skills. Those are the tactical inside of our wholesaling business. But then outside that, you also have to develop the skills of generating really great talent, of attracting really great talent, of being able to trust really great talent, to be an actual leader, to be able to understand that people work with you, not for you. You know, all of these things I think get lost along in the journey because being an entrepreneur is really tough. I am telling you, you're going to have the highest highs and the lowest lows if you let your emotions run wild. And it is a skill to understand that the most expensive thing in our business is our emotions. Our emotions, I guess, would be the right verbiage. But
yeah, they cost you everything. Your emotions will cost you relationships. Your emotions will cost you consistency. Your emotions will cost you the ability to connect with people. Your emotions are what's going to listen. If you, as a human being, you have the power to walk the body. You walk your body, you walk your mind. If you can't say that, if you can't make yourself sit in a seat and do something, if you can't make your mind sit and focus, then you've let your biology rule you. It's the one thing that separates us from all the other animals, my friend, is that we have power over that we get to choose. We get to decide. We don't just move off of instinct and arousal. We look, we observe, and we decide. That's what makes you a human being. So you choose the higher thing every single time. And if that choice is, I'm going to show up for myself today, I'm going to be that man, I'm going to be that woman, I'm going to be the person in my family and in my business that is unrelenting with my consistency. My friends, it is universal law. There's no way to lose.
And by the way, you only have to do it one day at a time.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I always felt so much pressure when I was young. I had this, when I graduated college, I was like, I am going to be a millionaire before 30. That's it. I'm going to be a millionaire before 30. I'm going to start a group that's called Millionaire Before 30. I'm going to be a millionaire before 30. And all I was thinking about is all these great ideas that I had and how to do everything except work, Jamil. You know what I mean? Everything. I had all these crazy ideas. I had started a technology company with this super tech guy that I knew. That was a nightmare. And then I started to just try to sell some houses here and there and started to get real creative. And how do you do that for free on the internet? And how do I do those things? And that all went down. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to actually start working now. Did some of that for a little bit. And as soon as I got a little bit of money, I was like, oh, now I'm going to go and open up a brokerage and I'm going to sign office leases and I'm going to it's to the moon, but I'm going to do everything that I can to not have conversations and make offers every single day. And it was a huge mistake. It set me back years and years and years. And I had to lose everything in order to learn that there's only, like, every entrepreneur goes through the dirt. Every entrepreneur has to go through and trudge through the really difficult times where you don't want to do it. You don't want to pick up the phone and spend all day getting yelled at and rejected so that you had 2 decent conversations, and which would potentially turn into leads, which would potentially turn into income. But that's scary. It hurts, right? You don't want to go and develop the skills to be able to effectively communicate with the different personality types. You don't want to go through the whole process of unlearning a lot of things that you learned about money and about, relationships and all sorts of things. You know what I mean? It's a lot of hard work. But I'm telling you, all the successful people that I know, at least, and Jamil, give me your perspective and your experience, have gone through and fist fought their way for years, 2, 3, 4 years, barely making it. Boom, multi-millionaires.
Man, we see them all the time, right? It's,
yep.
I mean, even in the communities that we're building, you look at there. I mean, and there's levels, right? You've got folks that are, they come in and right in the beginning, for instance, I got a community member, Seth Pettit, right? He's probably in the chat right now watching this. In his first 6 months, bro, this guy, he was having a hard time, but the fact is that he just kept putting in the reps, right? He would show up. Even though life was it was beating him up, right? And there was one day I remember he showed up on a call, and he was asking a question, and I could see his breath. He's inside, right?
Yeah.
And I said, Seth, what's happening over there? My furnace, bro. He didn't have the money to fix the furnace, right?
Yep.
And everybody in the community is just rallying with this guy. We're all putting, so much just love you, and he's being positive. He's not coming out saying, "Oh my goodness, no." He just shows up with a smile on his face every day, and he just puts in the work. He puts in the work every single day. 6 months go by.
Mm-hmm.
He's now at his point. He's got 3 deals closed this month. He's got another 2 closing. He's got 5 deals in escrow for the next month. I mean, now that this guy's situation is completely different. He's moving states. He's moving with closer to his team over in Jacksonville, Florida. His entire life. But if he had given in, and like, good guys, it could be 6 months. It could be 12 months. So everybody's different. Everybody is different. But why you have to be accepting of that is because you're going to learn at your own pace. You're going to learn the way that you learn. But as soon as you get it, as soon as you get to that point where you break through that and understand this, right? It's you. When you're not getting it, in a subtle way, you either haven't really believed it yet. You really haven't gotten confidence yet. You really haven't been able to push through and actually believe it. Because remember, you're only going to get as far as the box around your head, dude. The box around your head is drawing the box around your legs, around your feet. Just like the fish can't get any bigger than his bowl, dude. So you know that if you're still coming up against the wall and it's pushing you back and you can't open the door, there's work you got to do.
Skill. And listen, it's, I was really thinking about this. I mean, you're the Michael Jordan of wholesaling. You didn't start as Michael Jordan of wholesaling. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went through all the tough times. You had to develop all the skills. You had to develop all the conversations. You have to develop all of the relationships. You develop the mindset to, one, you had lost everything and came here and started a whole new life and was doing everything to just get by and to pay the bills. But let's be honest, 99% of people are one broken furnace away from quitting this business. You know what I mean? Because it's just too devastating. They got to go back to the job. This didn't work. I'm going to try something else. But if you stick with it and you practice dribbling and you practice shooting and you practice, dunking a basketball and winning and all of these things, like people get into this business and it's like the first time they've stepped onto a court and they want to be Jamil Damji. You know what I mean? They want to be able to score right away. And it's like, listen, build the skills to be able to get there. And the beautiful thing about this and not sports, because this is just an analogy, everybody can win at this. Everybody that stays around long enough and has enough conversations and makes enough offers will win. It's inevitable. It's a numbers game. This isn't like a freak genetic thing. This isn't a talent thing. This is a go in, build the skills that are absolutely achievable, and you can build a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business. Maybe not 9-figure, maybe in a little bit, but who knows?
Who knows? Who knows, right? God knows what one day if Keegley ever sells, or if we ever get to that stage where that number is and what that trades at. But I mean, think of that. Yeah. Right. What a story. What proof of what being able to be sophisticated in your business and your thinking process can create a wholesale business that can actually sell, that could be bought by a private equity company where you could take an exit. And here we are. There's Random in the chats over here. He's got his name as Random. He said, not a very random thought though. He says, and there's still people out there that have a negative opinion about wholesale, right? Sure. And interestingly enough, we've been changing that. We've been changing that whole narrative. What Brent's been doing, what Pace has been doing, what I've been working on, what Jerry's been working on, Steve Trang. We work tirelessly so that we normalize the conversation of what value we bring to the marketplace. And when you guys show up knowledgeable, when you guys show up confident, when you guys have conversations that make sense because you know how to comp, because you understand how to speak to people, when you guys show up for yourselves and do the work and get better and hone your skills, the bigger wholesale and the more sophisticated wholesale becomes to the general layman out there, who will inevitably learn what we are either through a contract or through a conversation. So, you guys are a part of that story as well. Everybody who's taking time out of their Monday evening to come to Wholesale Hotline so that they can ask questions and learn how to do this skill better. But you said everybody gets knocked out. You remember when Pace got that bankruptcy, popped on him. I mean, think about a guy who got, you down at
that was 5 years ago, bro. That wasn't like 20 years ago.
No, it was.
Look at him now in 5 years.
Right.
That's less than 2,000 days. Like, what are we talking about?
This is what I mean. Everybody, like, don't look at what's going on with you right now and say this is your destiny. My goodness, you know.
Yeah.
This guy, he getting robbed for $1.8 million. I've been robbed for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Brent, negative as well. Couldn't get a bank account.
Nope. I
Now
couldn't get a bank. I had the lowest credit score you can get. I had to send money in that they just sat on and kept because they were worried I would overdraft in 2011. You fast forward 12 years and, I am the bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am the bank. Like, it happens. But I had to talk to 45,000 property owners between that day and today. You know what I mean? I had to be able to build up skills that I could hire people that wanted to actually share in the vision that I had for this business and for this company. I had to be able to have the leadership skills and the energy to be able to keep this thing running and profitable and growing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we start out and we're playing we're on the court. We got to build the skills, and don't just step on the court and be like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. There's people with unique talents. There's people that have been in sales before. There's been people that have been in customer service before. There's been teachers. There's been nurses. There's been doctors. There's been attorneys that jump into this and get going and start building the momentum.
How many?
But everybody's different.
I have, like, I got a U.S. Marshal in Astro. I've got multiple police officers. Like, you guys think about this. I've got law enforcement. I do business with FBI agents, guys.
Yep.
And we're talking about wholesale. We have law enforcement in wholesaling.
Oh, yeah. I've got a ton of police officers.
Very, very normal, very, very reputable way to earn money. This is capitalism at its finest.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're just out there finding discounted properties. Like, finding discounted anything has been around since the beginning of time, since there's been commerce, finding discounts and people that want to trade price for something for speed and convenience. That's all we're doing. It's just with property. People will trade price for speed and convenience. We're the marketing engine of this whole industry. We're not selling beautiful houses like Jamil's sitting in right now. You know what I mean? We're not finding, Jamil's not selling that thing at a discount. He's selling it at a huge premium. He's looking at the ocean. He's going to watch the sun go down on the West Coast over the Pacific Ocean. That's bananas. You know what I mean? But, maybe a mile in, there's some properties out there. There's some properties that need some love. You know what I mean? There's opportunities everywhere. All we got to do is we got to match up our efforts with those opportunities, and boom. Now we've got a business, and we're going to screw it up, and we're going to mess it up, and we're going to be imperfect, and it's going to be progress and certainly not perfection, but it is the journey. It is not the destination. The destination's dope. Sitting in a multi-million-dollar beachfront property is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Is.
But you know what would be even more fantastic? If this entire boardwalk was lined with viewers of Wholesale Hotline.
It can be.
Absolutely.
It can be. Listen, it's filled with viewers of Wholesale Hotline just in different industries. That's all it is.
Yep.
We just have our target. We have what we're going after. And listen, I've tried everything in this business: development, fix and flip, be in the bank, wholesale, being an agent, all of these things. The foundation of all of it is finding discounted properties. The foundation of being a real estate investor is finding discounted properties, finding the best deals possible. And imagine if you built a machine where every single week you could review properties that are 50, 60 cents on the dollar in prime locations where you want to own real estate so that you can pass it on to your family or whatever. That's our life, Jamil.
That's it.
That's the life of a wholesaler.
It's beautiful.
I think people are crazy that want to flip properties. I do, or developer, all these other things. I mean, it's exciting, it's cool, but I honestly think about this, Jamil. I think about, you know what? If you didn't grow up in a family that really understood the skills required to do really well in real estate, then you got to start with wholesaling. You got to start with this. If your family's been there, like, I don't know if Bo will wholesale, maybe, but maybe he'll just be part of a bank. Maybe he'll be part of development. Maybe he'll be doing other things because I've got all these relationships, but I would have never had any of these relationships if I didn't pick up the phone, call up a stranger and say, hey, I'm sorry. This is really out of the blue, but I was calling about your property on 1212 Banana Street. Would you consider an offer on that property? From that line alone, my life has changed. My life has absolutely changed. That and the effort to go out there day in and day out and do the repetitious boredom work of picking up the phone from 9 to noon every single day, every single week for years and years and years and years.
And you still have people doing it for you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. But listen, you get to the point where you can afford to fire yourself from certain roles.
Right.
And it's incredible. But building those skills, that's how you strengthen a strong mindset. The most common question we've ever received on Wholesale Hotline over the last 3 years of doing this, is if you guys started with nothing and you guys had to start all over, what would you do? And do you think you could do it? We're like, yeah. Because we have the skills. You can't take away skills. They could get rusty, but they come right back. These are things that you build them in. They come right back. That's what I think is important.
You hone them in. You do the work, and away you go. That's it, guys. Throw your questions in the chat. We want to get to your guys' questions, but we're not seeing a lot in there. So put them in there, and we'll start getting to Q&A. But Brent, I'm 100%. I'm 100% in that frame of mind, you know.
Yep.
If you guys just understood that in that imperfect action, in that ability to just say, you know what, I'm at zero right now, but I'm gonna pick up the phone. I'm gonna make the first call. I'm gonna comp this house. I'm gonna call that agent. I'm going to look at this list. I'm going to call these 10 people. And you just do that over and over and over again. I was walking down the boardwalk in Venice today, and this lady, she loses her mind. She says, Jamil Damji, my goodness, I made $85,000 because of you. I've done 4 deals this year. I quit my W-2 job. I don't even know what to say to you. I'm in shock right now. You changed my life. My kids are, right there and looking like, wow, this is real.
I was at Lifetime Fitness, and I was showering after a workout, and this big, huge guy was walking by, and he's like, oh my gosh, Brent Daniels. He goes, this is super weird that you're in a towel right now, but I just closed a massive deal. It was like $57,000. And I was like, oh, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm wearing a towel, and I had to go obviously put clothes on. But I mean, listen, this business is simple. We're complicated. Entrepreneurs are complicated. We're looking for the path of least resistance, but we're not water running downhill. We're not. You know what I mean? The more challenges that we get up front, the more that we're water running uphill. You know what I mean? The better we are. The stronger we are and the longer it lasts. You see people come in and they're shooting stars. They're boom. They're like rocket ships. And then they burn out in the year, 1.5 or 2. And it's just because the skills weren't developed. It just happened too fast. The skills of leadership weren't developed. Skills of delegation weren't developed. Business management wasn't developed. Time management, priority management wasn't developed. All these things weren't developed. And it's a lot. It takes a lot. And it's not just like one day, all of a sudden it gets easier. You just got to keep chopping wood, carrying water, and just building new skills. And the number one thing that will get you through all of this is you got to find your tribe. You got to find your community. You got to find the people that are going to surround you. You got to find people doing more than you. You got to find people that are going to cheerlead you. You got to find people that are going to prop you up. You got to find people that you're willing to be vulnerable with and say, I didn't do my work today, or I lost on a deal because I made a huge mistake, or I'm just being lazy, or I got complacent because I just closed a $57,000 deal and now I'm like just kicking it and not doing anything. You got to find your tribe of people, your community that's going to support you. And that's a gut thing. There you can go out and find that locally. You could find it with Jamil. You could find it with me. You could find it with Pace. You could find it in Jerry Norton. You could find it in any of those. But just stick with it. Just get into it and stick with it, and you'll win. It doesn't matter which one you choose, as long as it's good in your gut, as long as you feel that the vibe attracts the tribe, so to speak. And so just find the people that are going to support you and love you and encourage you, and be there when it's tough days, and then celebrate when it's good days. And start every day at zero. Start every day at zero, and don't let your emotions like attack your productivity. Don't let, a big deal slow you down. Don't let the fact that you don't have any money slow you down. If you start every day at zero, you're not going to become complacent. Hunger matters in this business. Hunger matters. And you see the people with the hunger, and it lasts, and they build real big, profitable, fantastic businesses. I mean, Jamil's hunger is the biggest I've ever seen in this industry. And look at you now. You know what I mean? Like, look at your own business, let alone the franchises and the brand and everything else with Keegley, and how much support and love and deals are being done just because you had an idea running around in Phoenix when you were doing some deals, and you ran with it. But you didn't get complacent. You didn't sit down.
No. And even when I feel like I do some days at the moment that I start to see myself getting comfortable is when I make myself uncomfortable, or life will make me uncomfortable just so that I can stay nimble. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for obstacles. I'm so grateful for opportunity to grow. You don't grow without resistance, my friends. You don't get Brent Daniels biceps if you don't lift heavy weight. It's just not how it works. Everything is an example. Everything is an example of what it takes. Everything is an example of what it takes. You look at bodybuilding, you look at anything, diet, all of it, learning, college, whatever it was, it all took work. It all took you having to have resistance.
Yep.
And you have to do stuff for it. Otherwise, we don't just get to put a chip in our head and decide.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a quote from sports. I mean, talent is meaningless if you're tired. You know what I mean? Like, you got to build your endurance. You got to build your mindset. You got to build, you got to build up the skills of going to work every single day. And I think everybody has that. Batteries have to come included in this business. Mm-hmm. Batteries have to come included with being an entrepreneur. Anybody that says that they're a lazy entrepreneur, the 4-hour work week, that's all just to sell books, bro. That's not real. That's not a real thing. Like, pull back the curtain. Look at the Wizard of Oz. People are out there, and they're working hard, and they're putting the time and the effort in. That's what it takes, especially whenever the economy squeezes. I mean, we had a scare last year in June. Everybody's like runs for the hills because interest rates went from 5 to 7 or whatever. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, wholesaling. Well, I can't wholesale anymore. There's no more buyers. Well, you didn't build any relationships with the best buyers that understand what goes on when the economy changes. How about that? I love this business. I do. Do we have any questions? Hey guys, we're here to answer questions. We're here to squat up. So make sure that you put in the comments section where you live, where you're doing business. We're here to celebrate victories. I got the victory bell right here, ready to rock and roll. So if anybody's closed a deal or got an appointment or called a person for the first time, let us know about it. And we're here just to give you the instruction that you need to go out and make an impact. Make an impact quick. Got a question right here. You got 2 deals closing? Get up here. 2 deals closing, Jamil. Come on. What are we doing?
Very good.
Here we go. Ring this thing. This thing. 2 deals. Look at these guys.
Hey, good job. Hey, are you closing those deals with the Trainer Brothers?
Yeah.
Astro, baby. Let's go.
Close it. What are you making? $20,000. How old are you guys? 18. 18. Are you kidding me? You guys are incredible. Congratulations. That's awesome. Is
Matt over there?
Yeah, Matt's ready.
Matt, throw him up.
Do we have him starred? Oh. He'll get going on that. 18, 20,000. Who else has closed a deal? Put it in here. That's
put
awesome.
your deals in the chat, guys. Let's celebrate those victories. Every time that you know, it's not bragging, guys. When you show and give people confidence and proof of concept, it's a huge boost. You know, and that and letting people see and learn by example to see that this is normal. That, you know, regular guys just like you, or regular ladies just like you, can do this. And you know, that to me is why it's so important that you share your wins. Don't keep that stuff to yourself. It's selfish. It's important that you share it. It's important that you motivate people and show people what's possible. God didn't give you success so that you could keep it to yourself.
Nope. Matt is combing through for questions. Jamil, why did you buy that place? You have a beautiful place here. You have another beautiful place here. Why'd you buy a place in California?
I bought this house because I love the ocean. There's something about being really close to the water and smelling the air and hearing the waves that really does something to me just physiologically. My wife, she loves the ocean as well. She loves California. It's always been her wish to have a house here on the water. And so in December of 21, I pulled the trigger and bought this house. And it's been the best. It's been the best thing that we ever did, because we can get from our house in Phoenix to our house in LA in an hour, in just under 2 hours, door to door. You know, and it's like, just like you get to Flagstaff, I can get to my house in LA in the same amount of time. And you know, the flights are that regular. So I anytime I can be here. If I decide at 5 o'clock in the evening, I just want to go smell the ocean right now and go stay at my house. Yeah, I could book a flight, be at the airport in 45 minutes, be on a plane, get over here, and I'm 10 minutes from the airport here in Marina Del Rey. It's incredible.
I love it. I saw this. I saw this psychologist, and I don't know if it's legit or not, but I feel like it is. My instincts, my spidey senses do. But he said the happiest people spend the least amount of time at their house.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying like traveling, but I mean, that's why I really get a lot out of having a cabin in the woods, because something about just sticking around my house every weekend all the time, it just, I don't know. You know what I mean? And just being out and about and just adventuring and just changing scenery and not just falling into a certain routine, I think has been really helpful and strong in my life and certainly my kids and Aaron's life as well. So I totally get it. I mean, I totally get it, you know, and I think that's interesting. You know, don't just stay in your house. Don't just close the blinds, turn on the fan, and like stay in front of, you know, a TV all the time, entertaining yourself. Like, go out, do some things. I think that's, I don't know, maybe I'm just being an old man right now, but I think it's important.
I think it's very important. To anybody asking questions about the Flip Fund, Proof of Funds, I am going to be bringing it back. We're going to do it in a different way, just to make sure that we've got, you know, every box checked. It's going to be a part of my transactional funding service. So it's going to come with that service. Okay. So it's going to be tied to my transactional funding, meaning, guys, you have to have an intent to use my transactional funding company if you want to get the proof of funds. And so in order for me to bring Flip Fund back, that's the way I have to do it. So if you guys have a desire for me to bring it back, do me a favor and put a big FU in the chat. Awesome. I want to see an FU in the chat if you guys want to see me bring Flip Fund back, and I will do a nice live stream explaining how we're going to be doing business in the future so that we can help you guys still do deals and get things done. All right, Brent, go ahead.
And real quick, this is something that fundamentally everybody has to understand, that anybody that really hates on wholesaling doesn't understand, because they go, well, people are making offers on properties and they have no money. Well, guess what? It's two words. It's called transactional funding. Yep. This whole industry is set up that if there is more money than there are deals. Okay? There is all the money, hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's not go bananas with it. Let's call it $10 million. $10 million is sitting in somebody else's account waiting to be wired in to close your deal. So you're a buyer. What you decide to do with the property is your choice. You can flip it, you can hold it, or you can assign it. But
Right.
guess what? That's your providence. That's what you decide you want to do. Nobody else out there can tell you what to do with that once you have the agreement signed and you have the ability to do all three of those things. So some people need to be educated on that. Some
Yep.
people need to understand that transactional funding is not just some fake thing out there. And it's wonderful for lenders because they get to fund something that is probably already sold and earn like 2% for literally wiring their money in for like
we do it for
a day.
Yeah, we do it for 1% because we want to make it just look. The fact is that this comes down to the legitimacy of your offers, and so you've got to keep that in mind. In order for you to have a legitimate, honest offer, there has to be money backing your offer, and you have to be willing to put that money on the table. And I think that's where we had a little bit of a misunderstanding with the organization that I was previously involved with. So with that said, I have too many people making too much money using Flip Fund as a service and having us back your guys' offers. And so look forward to a live stream where I walk you guys through the process, and we'll be bringing Flip Fund back. Yes,
Awesome.
This is a live show, guys. You just put your questions in the chat, and we're going to get to them. We're just looking for them.
People think this is pre-recorded.
Yeah, random ask. Right. Hey, question: at what point should I stop analyzing a deal and move on to the next one? I know I gotta know my buyer well, but how do I know when I'm wasting time on analyzing a deal? You're never wasting time analyzing a deal, ever. You should always be looking at it. But here's the thing, Random: if you're looking and analyzing a deal that is in the boonies where there's no other there's no other houses, there's just no action, there's no activity. There may not be a point to analyzing that one, because where you're going to find a buyer. If you're looking at a house that's beautiful, completely remodeled, and it's not a creative deal, you can't get some kind of owner financing or subject to financing on it, there's no potential there. So that's when you would be wasting your time analyzing that deal. If you're looking at, I got somebody message me today and say, hey, Jamil, I got a lead on a $48 million mansion rehab in South Florida that needs $15 million in renovations. I can't do that deal. I don't know. There's a handful of people in America that do that deal. I focus where the volume is. So Random, I think what you got to think about is how is the deal that I'm analyzing right now in an area, or is there potential here? Is this where people are doing business? And if that is, then of course, analyze the deal. There's never a reason why you shouldn't be doing that work.
Well, listen, there's a difference between a deal and a lead. Listen, guys, if you're just randomly comping a house that you saw that's ugly for practice, fine. That's okay. Do that after you go and talk to the property owners. But listen, if you're just out there comping properties and you don't know, the number one thing that we're trying to discover with the property owners is, have they made the decision they're going to sell that property? So if you're out there comping all the properties for practice, totally understand it. You want to build that skill, totally understand it. You want to take that to the next level, have a conversation with the property owner. They say, yes, we do want to sell the property. What's your offer? Now you're getting into it. Now you're doing some real business here. Because Jamil, I have seen people drive for dollars, take 250 properties, put them into an Excel list, comp every single property, come up with the offer price for every single property, and never talk to the property owners.
Yeah, that was just all a bunch of busy work, right? Like it didn't get you anywhere. So 100% motivation. There's got to be a motive. If you've got somebody who's raised their hand and said, hey, I'd look at an offer. Yes, analyze a deal, but don't, again, unless you can comp as fast as I can.
Yeah, but you're not going out there, Jamil, and just comping like every house for fun. People are sending you opportunities. You're competent and getting the reps. You know what I mean? Like, doing valuations or, doing a, appraisal on properties that don't want to sell their house is busy work. It's not productive.
Yep.
Yep. Awesome.
Nathan asked, how does the proof of funds help if a seller calls a number and needs to verify the funds? Well, for me, I was actually calling real estate agents back and verifying for them, sending a screenshot of my bank account so that they could see the money in the account. I think that happens every once in a while. It's not every person who verifies, but it happened at least, I'd say 1 out of every 10 people that used the service needed a verification, and I was happy to do it.
Here's my experience with hard money lenders like Capital Fund or Boomerang or Imans. People would call into the office. Hey, I got this proof of funds for Brent Daniels. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, they're ready to go. What agents don't understand is it's an asset-based lender. They're like, yeah. Listen, let me explain something to you about hard money lenders. Every property is approved at the right price.
Correct.
Every property, every investor.
Not even at the right price, with the right amount down.
Sure.
You don't even have to buying it. You don't look. The hard money lender doesn't care what you're paying for something. They care about what the loan to value ratio is.
That's right.
So if you're overpaying, okay, great. Come to the table with more money down. That's what they're going to want.
Yep.
A hard money lender typically doesn't want to be exposed for any more than 70 to 80% of loan to value. But here's the best thing about transactional funding. I'll actually pay 100% of your contract price. I close your A to B side of your contract, so you don't even need to come to the table with any money. That's why when I was asked about it, and they say, well, why aren't you verifying how much cash people have? That's not how transactional funding works. I never ask you to come to the table with money. I come with 100% of the money down.
But isn't that risky for you, Jamil? Why would you take that risk?
You've got it sold. You've got a B2C, and I've got the earnest money verified at the title company. There's no nothing. And again, this is why I make money. Why do you think? If there is a risk and your buyer doesn't close, okay, well, you know what? That's why I've been collecting 1% every time I do this. So if I end up having to close a property and having to do something, I'm also the biggest wholesaler in the country. If we close a house, guess who's probably going to be able to sell it?
You, my friend. Well, think about this. So people, just to make this very clear for people that are just starting out, A is the seller, the owner of the property. B is you. All right. C is your cash buyer. What Jamil's saying is he will go and fund this transaction between you and the seller, knowing that you already have a buyer that's ready to pay more for this property. But you want to close on this because it's a big spread, because the seller doesn't want you to assign it, because you just don't want to assign it. Maybe you're in a state that requires a real estate license to assign contracts. Whatever it is, maybe it's just a personal choice. I'm going to close on deals so that I could show people later that I buy and sell properties and know how to find deals so that they will lend me money someday, be my private lenders, so I can go and do other things in this business, whatever it is, right? Yep. Jamil, for having somebody on his staff wire in money into that title company after verifying that it's a real buyer and they have non-refundable earnest in there, gets 1%. So let's say it's a $100,000 loan. He gets $1,000. Let's say it's a $300,000 loan. He gets $3,000 at the same day. The buyer, number C, your cash buyer, is coming in and paying off that loan that he just gave you. So literally, for an assistant to verify these things, or somebody, whatever, a manager to verify these things and send in a wire that costs $35, he's going to get $3,000 that day. Listen, this is why there's more money than there are deals, guys. I'm just telling you. Jamil's not the only one. A lot of successful people in the real estate business
out there. There's transactional lenders out there who charge 3% and they're busy.
Oh, booked. They're out of money at 3%. I can't believe you're doing it at 1%. That's bananas. That's absolutely banana. You could easily go 2.5, and still make it a smoking deal for somebody.
Yes, sir.
Imagine you couldn't get a deal done because the seller didn't want you to assign the deal, but it cost you $2,500 to get a loan for a day to be able to close it and be the cash buyer instead of giving. You know what I was giving up, Jamil, to do transactional funding? 50% of the deal. 50% of the deal back in the day. That was the deal, right? 50% of the deal with private lenders, private people that I knew to be able to close these deals and get it done. I didn't have the cash.
Right.
They wanted 50%.
And
Okay,
at that time, it was worth it for you. Good.
And I loved it.
Yep.
You could do it for getting 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It's bananas. Anyway, I think we're off the rails here with this. I think we've answered it, but it's really important for people to know. And imagine this. Imagine that you go out and you make a absolute mint with your wholesaling business to the point where you can go and do transactional funding yourself. Crazy. AV, how would you disclose your wholesaling? Can I just put it in the contract? It will be assigned to the end buyer. AV, who are you?
I got a statement that you guys write this down right now. I'll say it. And then if you don't write it down fast enough, just come back to it and watch it again. But this is the statement that I use, and I use it on all of my contracts. And it's the most incredible disclosure statement you'll ever need. Buyer is an LLC in the business of buying and selling real estate for a profit. At any time, the buyer may decide as an exit strategy to fix and flip, comma, buy and hold, comma, or wholesale contract, period. This to be determined during the inspection period at buyer's sole discretion, period. All rights reserved, period. Done.
It's in our purchase agreement. I mean, it's in Arizona, you have to disclose if you're wholesaling. It's in our purchase agreement.
That's it. That statement is I had it drafted from an attorney.
Yep.
It covers you for everything.
Can you post that to your Instagram or something? Is it on there?
I'm going to post it on my IG tomorrow. You guys will see it on my Instagram tomorrow.
Awesome. And by the way, listen, the only time that we've run into issues with the actual property owner caring if we're wholesaling it is when a wholesaler went in and totally lied to them about what price they could purchase it at, weren't able to perform, and then just disappeared and ghosted on them. And that happens a couple times. And or an agent that's been through that with properties that they have listed on the market. So when you run across those, transactional funding is a very powerful way to close those deals and still make an incredible profit without having to assign the deal. You turn into a flipper. Listen, if you flip it 30 seconds or a year later, it's still a flip. You know what I mean? So buy and hold, flip, or assign. Michelle, still having issues getting my correct low cash offer on those homes that need love accepted. Got it. Because wholesalers and investors are doing offers too high. Any suggestions? Let me tackle this a little bit. Michelle, I have seen in the last 90 days, maybe 120 days, a increase by 12% on what cash buyers are buying stuff for in Phoenix from the beginning of the year to now, maybe even 6 months now that we're in August. This has just been going fast, but it's been increasing. So one, really talk to your buyers and see what they're willing to pay for it. And two, if you're in a bigger metropolitan area, you probably need to increase your offers. What do you think, Jamil?
I think 100% that's what's going on. I want to just say, Michelle, when you say you're having an issue getting your low cash offer right off the bat, I think the energy of what you're putting out there is a low offer. Michelle, you're supposed to be paying up to 100% of as is value. Remember, we don't steal equity. We're not offering too low on the property. We're offering what the property is worth in its current condition. Our assignment fee comes from our buyers, not from the equity of our sellers. Yep. So I need you to flip the mind around here. You're not offering low. You're offering as much as you possibly can for the house in its current condition. So that being said, I think you're not trying to offer more. You got to look and see what is the most that I can offer on this and still do a deal. So yep. I would say that you really got to get to the bottom of the energy of what you're trying to put out there, my friend Michelle, because I think you probably are coming in too low. I think you should watch my Comp Fu challenge I'm going to be doing, where I'm comping properties, and I'll be helping you guys for 2 days straight comping. My goal is to comp a couple hundred houses during that challenge. And I'll be giving all of you guys buy numbers so that you guys can understand how much you can offer agents on these properties. And I'm going to give you the reason why I would use that number. So come show up to that challenge, Michelle, and learn where you're going wrong. I'd love to see you, sister.
Yeah, we're not stealing equity. We're giving potential equity to an investor. That's it. That's all it is. And the more that you can recognize potential, the more that you could recognize what the exit strategies are for your buyers, the more you're going to make. Because, and I talk about this deal all the time, but there was a deal that Jamil and I did probably 4 years ago. And I thought we squeezed out everything on this deal. I mean, everything. It was I think we made like 24 on it, and we were feeling great about it. We're like, holy cow, Keegley's over their skis with this price. This is crazy. And then you sold it to somebody that wanted to live in the neighborhood. Yep. Next door was like the family member. He had cash saved up, way more cash, and was a contractor. So it like all the things aligned, and you guys made an additional like 30,000. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow, this is absolutely incredible.
That's just it. You never put your mind inside the mind of your buyer. You don't know what they need it for.
Yeah, don't think for them.
Like even for me right now, I'm looking for more property in the neighborhood that I live in. I want to buy my entire neighborhood. I don't know why, but I want it. I want to choose my neighbors. And so I'm willing to overpay in my neighborhood because I'm looking to buy the block. I want to own the whole street.
Yep.
That's because I'm the end buyer, I would pay more than what the retail market would pay.
That's it. Yep.
Porch View Properties said, just asking who due diligence falls on during the inspection contingency period. Is the wholesaler supposed to do that, or is my cash buyer? Oh, wow. What a great question, Porch View Properties. So really love it. I think in reality, Porch View, both of you should be doing some form of due diligence on the property. Now, here's why it's important that you and potential buyers be doing it. First, if you're looking at this as the wholesaler, but you may actually purchase the property, well, if you're not only a wholesaler, if you're also a fix and flipper or a buy and hold person, you're going to want to have an understanding of what is going on in the property regardless. But let's just say you're only a wholesaler and you don't want to buy the house to own the house. You only want to buy the house to flip it. Okay. Well, maybe during that inspection period, you send an inspector or send somebody over to look at the general condition, and you uncover something materially different from what you had actually thought you were contracting when you were described the property through the MLS or from the agent, and you uncover something big like a foundation crack or really extensive termite damage or unpermitted additions, whatever those things might be. You now have within your hands the ability to renegotiate. So imagine now if you're in contract and you're doing your due diligence and you send a buyer out there to look at the property and they're doing their due diligence and they're the ones who alert you to the fact that something happened. Well, here's what you can now do. You can say to that buyer, okay, well, knowing now we have a foundation issue, what would your committed cash offer be? Well, I now would think I'd need to be at 150. I'm just giving you an example. I need to be $20,000 less than what you're selling it for. You were asking 170. I need to be at 150 now. Well, now you can go back to the seller. You can go back to the real estate agent and you can say, foundation crack. Here's the inspection report. I need a $20,000 renegotiation here or I can't move forward. Now, if they agree and your buyer agrees, guess what? You just re-engineered the deal during the deal. Which is why Porch View, it's important that you do due diligence as well as your buyers or potential buyers do due diligence, because it gives you both the leverage necessary to renegotiate should that be the path that you need to do in order to get the deal done.
Perfect. Yep. Don't let it slow you down. Get in, find out. Don't try to be a contractor on every deal. You know what I mean? Because it'll drive you crazy and you're working on skills that you don't need for this. But it's good. Jamil crushed it. MJJ Smooth Criminal. Brent, how often do you wholesale on market properties versus off market, and have you wholesaled a portfolio? Oh, I love this one. 99.9% off market. On market, I just don't. I think that there's some really smart ways to go about getting deals on market, and I think if you're consistent with it, you can definitely get deals on market. I've just always found that bigger deals were found off market in my experience, because I've tried to bring on somebody on staff to just make offers on market using Privy, using these other incredible tools, and it definitely works. It just wasn't a focus into my business. Probably something that will add later down the line, but just we like deals that nobody knows about. And so yeah, that's how I've built my business. The portfolio properties. Let me tell you whenever I have somebody that is in the Rhino Tribe mentorship tell me that they have somebody that has 11 properties, 12 properties, 20 properties, 50 properties, I'm reminded of a guy that Jamil and I know very well. And he went and he had stars in his eyes, and he had a lot of enthusiasm. And he took down one of these portfolios and went bankrupt. Right. And this has happened to a couple other people that I know.
He competed against me, bro. I was trying to buy a portfolio for $5 million, and he went 5.5.
No, and that's why he lost everything, right? And you sold most of those deals anyway.
Yeah, when he was in pre-foreclosure and foreclosure, I ended up getting the tape, and so I still was the only one who made money in that deal, and the seller. The seller did really well,
and the sellers always do really well. Okay. Yep. If they own all of these portfolio of properties, unless they're just very kind, or these properties are completely destroyed, I would run away. I'm just telling you, so many people get so excited. Jamil, I get this on a daily basis. I've got this portfolio. It's great. Or another one, same energy as a portfolio type thing, is I got this guy who wants to sell 60 acres, and he's talking about you can redevelop it. It's farmland now, but you could redevelop it. It's only a quarter mile from the freeway, all of these things, right? And I see people going down because it sounds like you're being productive, but it's a nightmare. And those deals take a couple years to close, and that's just it's not what we do. You know what I mean? Like, we find deals, we sell deals, we keep going, and we try to do it quickly. Those slow burning deals, there's people out there that do it, and they do a great job. My opinion, let them go do those awesome big deals that they can write books about and make, videos about and do all these crazy things. Me, I'm going to go sell 48K worth of deals every single week. That's what I'm going to do. All right. And I don't like waiting around. And I don't like things staying on the back of my mind when I'm at my cabin. When I'm thinking about things, I don't want to be thinking about the deal that I hope it goes through a year from now. And so portfolios and land splits and land development, yes, people can make money on them. Most don't. Most people that make money on them are the sellers, because they've owned it forever.
My philosophy on those, Brent, the portfolios and the pieces of land and whatnot, I say, look, as long as you have the discipline to only give it as much time and attention as you would a single house.
Yep.
If you are going to give this portfolio more time and more attention than you would a single deal, you're gonna completely F yourself up, because you're gonna get myopic about it. You're gonna get obsessed. You're gonna forget everything else, and all your stuff's gonna go down the drain. Because just like Brent said right now, they don't close as often as a single family house, because there's only a handful of buyers who do deals like that. One of my students, Todrick, just did one. He just sold a huge portfolio in Michigan to a hedge fund, made $200,000. But he took the advice, and I told him, I said, listen, detach from that. Get your emotions out of this thing. Treat it like you would any other house, any other deal. And he did. He just touched base and did the same nurturing and the same follow-up and the same kind of work that he would have done in any other deal. And he didn't get completely, like, oh my God, if this deal closes, I'm going to make $200,000. It's more money than I've ever made in an entire year. Yep. No, he didn't think like that at all. He just said, it happens, good. If it doesn't happen, good. And that was his attitude about it. And lo and behold, here he goes. Todrick ends up $200,000 in one transaction. But again, he did that with complete detachment. Guys, consistency is the obsession, not the result.
Yep. Well, and listen, like what I would suggest is and this is almost every time the portfolio owner goes, well, here's the list of properties. You tell me what you could pay for the portfolio, right? Take all of them, add them up, times it by 50%, and say that to them and see what the response is. Just do that, because every property in there has to be a deal.
Yeah.
Every property in the portfolio has to be a deal. The guy that lost everything, it was a deal for half of them. The other half sunk him.
Yep.
I mean, and we're talking like the prime time, hottest part of the real estate market in a while. And this dude's giving properties back in foreclosure. I mean,
it knocked him out
nightmare
of the game
for him.
like 2 years too. He's back around now doing something completely different. I don't even think he does wholesale anymore. I think he's in the Airbnb vacation rental space. And, he seems to be doing much better and happier and whatnot, but it took a lot out of him. I mean, it knocked him out of the wholesale game.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Mikkel Wheeler. Do you ever feel like you're burning out your lists / data? I'm realizing we're starting to call the same addresses over and over. Well, so we put all of our data into batch leads, and so it stacks it. And so we make sure that we understand if they're on multiple lists, which means that there's multiple layers of distress. And the more layers of distress there is, and they're stacked, the more we're really focused on those properties. So that really helps out. But if you're in a smaller area, you're going to have to expand your area at some point. If you go through your list twice and there's no more, you're going to have to expand. Now, listen, there's little knobs and things that you can turn to change it up. You go, oh, well, I'm only going after properties that were built before 1990. Great. Now go for all the properties built from 1991 and older. How about go for those? I'm only going after tired landlords. Great. Go for owner occupied that have equity, that are over 65 years old and they have multiple levels, right? Jamil loves that one. How about, there's only a certain amount of vacant properties. Great. There's only a certain amount of pre-foreclosures. Great. What about land? What about multifamily? What about some of these other lists? So you can squeeze out a lot. The other thing that I see a lot of people having problems with is they go out and they buy cheap data. They get skip tracing at 2 or 3 cents an address. And then they go and they hire somebody for $3 or $4 an hour to hammer through it with absolutely no skills, no skin in the game, no ability to, basically you only find a deal if it's an absolute laydown. And then you burn through all your data and your lists extremely fast because you have somebody that is way underqualified to make any calls to anybody about anything, especially about their properties. And you're using cheap data. So you're like, okay, well, I got these addresses. I'm just not getting any results. Usually it's the skip tracing. Usually it's the talent. And the other one is when you go 10 lines on a speed dialer. Like you should never do more than 3 lines or you'll just burn through, and it sets you up for failure because you hear no so many times and so quickly that you get conditioned for it. And it's like a natural reflex that you're thinking people are going to say no to you. So slow it down, triple line, great data, pay for the data. It matters and it's an investment. And, freshen up your list, pull bigger lists, and call them yourself. If you've never done a deal before and you're hiring a VA to make your calls, you might as well just take all your money and just burn it. I'm serious. I'm going to just get this VA off of this website and I'm going to strap them to this dialer that I saw on YouTube and just let them loose. You're just completely wasting your time. You're not even trying. You're not even trying to build skills. You're thinking like it's a cheat code. It doesn't work. It doesn't. It never really has, except for there was big companies about 3 or 4 years ago that had 20 callers at $3 an hour just going bananas. And they had a sales manager training them all and going through all their recordings. And they were able to do some deals. And then they all transitioned to text message marketing. And that went down because the carriers caught on. And now there's still like remnants of, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to just hire a $4 an hour person to to negotiate and find deals that are going to make you 10, 20, 30, knock it off. You pay $3, you're going to get $3 in results. You're just wasting your money. I'm not talking to you, Mikkel. I'm talking to the whole industry as a whole. I'm just standing on my soapbox and letting you know my experience. Awesome.
Cyrus Julian said, what's your opinion on working on market MLS deals where there's a ton of multiple offers, some as high as 20 plus? Should I switch to off market direct to seller or find another market? Thank you. Cyrus, so here's what you're doing right now is you're going after freshly listed properties in a tight inventory market. Are there opportunities there? Yes. Are you going to get them often? No way. You're going to do a lot. If you're going after freshly listed properties, that's stuff that everybody's seeing and everybody is offering on. What I prefer to do, Cyrus, is I prefer to do my on-market deals on stuff that's been sitting 30, 60, 90, 120 days on market. That's where I have an opportunity to negotiate. That's where there's motivation. That's where there's properties just sitting stale. The real estate agent didn't take their initial offers or whatever happened in the beginning. Now the property's just sitting. Now I have an opportunity to go in and negotiate. The other part is, Cyrus, is that when you're dealing with on-market properties, there's a mentality for the buyer. The buyer needs to see that you brought something of value to the table. So if you're going to go and bid a property up when it first gets listed on the MLS, and now your offer is accepted $20,000 above MLS list price, okay? So then you still have to make a profit on it. So then you add $5,000 or $10,000 on top of that. Now all of a sudden you're sending out a property to your buyers that's $20,000 to $25,000 or even $30,000 over MLS list price. They look at that and immediately the reaction that comes is, this dude or this lady is crazy. So they're not going to accept that. They're good. Instinctively, they say that you brought no value to the table, even if it's a great deal at the price that you're sending it out at. That's just the way that buyers think. Now, on the flip side of that, I just did a deal today. We had a property listed on the MLS at $799, got it under contract at $700, sell it for $719, $990. Okay, we make $20,000 on that. The buyer is ecstatic. Why? Because it was listed $100,000 above what we contracted it at, and he got to buy it $80,000 below list, even though the $800,000 list price that was originally there was too high. The perception of value was there. So the buyer was willing to actually dive into the numbers and look at it to see if it was an opportunity that he wanted. So you have to think about the way your buyer is viewing it. What are they going to think? Because ultimately, they're the ones coming to the table to take the house off your hands. Unless you want to buy it, Cyrus, these are the ways that I do my on-market situations.
Yeah, you got to negotiate the higher price down. I mean, that's it. And if it pops, the only other thing that I've seen, Jamil, is when a property hits the market and it's a smoking deal and there's multiple offers and blah, 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 and somebody gets it under contract and then can't perform, and you go in and put backup offers on these. There's some potential there. But again, there's also just, you got to have other sources because
and like Matthew Justice just said, I'm selling a deal $200K above list right now. Yeah, that's not the norm, right? Matthew probably has a great deal and he probably is working with a buyer he knows really well, a buyer who understands that market and that number. It doesn't faze him, right? So yeah, if you have really specific relationships where you can get away with that stuff, by all means do it. But Cyrus, you got to look at this in terms of the masses, right? Don't let someone's one-time experience being able to sell something much above list be a reason why you're going to put a bunch of time and resources into chasing on-market deals above list price. And you're just going to be spinning your wheels and your tires there, running up a fool's errand. I don't recommend that. What I told you to do when I first answered this question is how you do the on-market stuff.
Beautiful. Awesome. Raza. Joffrey, question: how do we allocate our time between preparing, offers, comping, and cold calling? Should we allocate days for each activity, or do we need to do both daily? This is how I've done it, and I don't know if you're full time or part time, Raza, but 9 to noon was non-negotiable That's when I was hunting for opportunities. I feel like the morning is for finding deals, the afternoon's for doing deals. The morning's for hunting, the afternoon's for gathering. And I would set that up, whatever it is, even if you have like a part-time schedule, you're doing it on the weekends, you're doing it in lunch breaks, you're doing it in the evenings, set it up so that there's non-negotiables, that like it's sacred time for lead generation, and then it's sacred time for doing everything else. And when you're starting out, I mean, 100% of your time is going to be for hunting. Like, just pour that in, right? Just you're going to get so much. Your education is going to come from the results that you get than from, just thinking about it too much. So once you get to that point, and then 9 to noon to 12:15 was lunch. Stop taking like hour and 15-minute lunches. That's bananas. And then from 12:15 to 1:30, I was doing lead follow-up. And then after that, I was preparing offers, selling offers, going on appointments. And so I just kept that schedule. Now, sometimes, listen, I made it a point to keep my schedule about 75% of the time, so it didn't happen all the time. One of those days would get wiggly because some seller needed something in the morning, some title company needed to close in the morning, something had to happen. But 75% of the time it was sacred, it was non-negotiable, and I just set it aside. And if you just put it in place, just look at your schedule and custom fit it, find the nooks and crannies in your schedule. Or if you're doing this full time, just take that schedule and hunt in the morning, and in the afternoon, gather.
I love this question from Chris. He says, he's planning on joining Astro next week. Awesome. But he said, what do I think is the best way to get consistent deals after 6 months of nothing happening? Chris, if you've done 6 months of nothing happening, I can tell you this. You want to know what the best thing to do is? Something different. I'll see you on Tuesday.
There you go. Go ahead, Jamil.
Yours says, what kind of deal do I fund? I'm new to wholesaling and haven't considered it until just now. If it's a stupid question, then ignore it. Of course, this is not a stupid question. What kind of deals do we fund? Well, we fund the purchase of a wholesale deal. So to yours, what we do in wholesaling is we find opportunities in real estate deals. And sometimes these opportunities are in the form of a good fix and flip opportunity. Sometimes it's in a good development opportunity. Sometimes it's a great rental opportunity. Whatever that is, there has to be some potential for somebody to make money on it. Now, if I can find an opportunity where somebody can make money on a real estate deal, and I put that opportunity under contract, and now I have the right to buy it, right? Now I can sell my right to buy it. But here's what it is, too. In order for your offer to be legitimate, there has to be some money backing your offer. So what real estate agents ask, and sometimes sellers ask, is for a proof of funds. They want to see, do you have the money to close this deal? So what I do for you two is I close the deal for your contract. So I'll actually come to the table, I'll close your purchase, and then your buyer will buy the deal from me the next or the same day. That's what I'm funding. I'm funding the transaction so you don't have to come to the table with money. You just put the deal together, and then all the pieces get put together for you. Now, of course, there's a small fee for doing that, but 1% of a $10,000 fee or a $20,000 fee is nothing. Considering, when you're 1% of a deal, when you're making 10 or 20 grand, it really is just, it's a drop in the bucket. So when it's necessary and you need the help, we're here for you.
Awesome. The real honest investor. Brent, how often or what percentage of your deals come from pay-per-click? Can you break down your leads, referrals, bandicides, cold calls, door knocking? Yeah. Pay-per-click, I think we're just over 400,000 for the year. That would be, we're at 1.3 for the year. So you could do the math there. Text message marketing and calls are the other ones. I get very, very little from TV ads, but they're starting to pick up. And it's something that I wanted to just try out, which is interesting. I spend 20 grand a month in there, and that's a lot. I could probably allocate that for something else, but I'm just curious if I keep that going, if it builds, because there's an incredible guy, Doug Hopkins. There's another incredible guy called Andrew the Home Buyer, and they do a great job here, and they get a ton of deals, and it's a really interesting process that they're going through. So I'm just expanding and doing that type of thing. But my three biggest and they're pretty even, or pay-per-click, text and calling.
Brent, I know you're going to have a real heyday with this question, so I think we should both answer this one.
Yep.
Louis Cartouche said, what are red flags in a business partner? I'm going to start because I know what your answer is going to be. But for
he's
me,
a Rhino. I know him very well.
My thoughts, Louis, what are red flags in a business partner? Well, first and foremost, if they're anything like you.
Yeah.
If they're anything like you, it's you have not chosen a good partner, because you need somebody that's going to bring complementary skills to the table, not your skills to the table, right? That's one of the red flags. Secondly, don't hire your friends. Don't hire your family. Okay, I've seen so many relationships get flushed down the toilet because of business. Don't do that, right? And I think the last thing is if you ever how somebody is around other people, like, for instance, if I'm around a guy and we're out at a having cocktails or something, and I can see that this person is maybe being inappropriate or saying inappropriate things to ladies or whatever, right? That to me, that's a red flag. I look at their social behavior. I see, what kind of a man or what kind of a woman are you? Honestly, I want to know that you've got a wholesome character to you, because how you are to the people in your life is how you're going to be to me.
Yeah.
So if somebody is lying or cheating on, in their business, or they've got a way, they've always got an angle, they're always looking for a way so that they can cut a corner, and don't think that you're going to be absolved of that activity. That person's going to cut your corners the moment they have the opportunity to do it. What are your thoughts, Brent?
Yeah, I think there's one question to ask. If could I find somebody and hire them to do everything that this person brings to the table? If the answer is no, then you're going down the path. And I know that that's not the question here, but that is, I've just found in my experience that you should just be hiring people and treat them well and make them rich inside your company, but they're not your business partner. If there's intangibles, if there's just things that they can do that you can't, and you can't hire it, and you're just not going to get that level of talent without giving ownership, then rock and roll. You know what I mean? And I think Jamil has way more experience than I do in that. So listen to exactly what Jamil said. But Luis, I know you. Like, don't get a partner. You're just messing with. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's already got a successful business. He's already up and running. You know what I mean? He's already doing his thing. Now, listen, if you have, and this is a different thing, right? If you're starting a new business and it's like a fix and flip, and I see this with Luke Rothfull and Jake Landis. They're phenomenal. And I was always giving Luke shit of getting a business partner. But then Jake would go and raise all the funds, and they would do a bunch of development and a bunch of rental portfolio and a bunch of flips. And it let Luke just be Luke and call people and get phenomenal deals and build relationships. People just throw money at Luke. He's just the best. But he's not the most organized. And so Jake's got that whole side. He's got a bunch of relationships. He's got a bunch of things that he brings to the table to be able to run that the other businesses. So it just depends. I mean, if you're going to start multiple businesses, then sure, maybe there's something there. But I think for your wholesaling business, you can rock and roll. Unless your vision is to start like a franchise, like Jamil has done. Yeah, I think you can just hire really great talent.
Great. I mean, that's a great point. And I think the other thing too is be really careful that you don't want a big company for the vanity of wanting a big company, man. I see that's a thing, right? Like there's been months where I made way more money as a small shop wholesaler than I made as the owner of Keegley. There's also been months where I made way more at Keegley than I would have as a small shop owner. But the amount of stress and just how much work is involved in running a shop like that, it's phenomenal. It's so much work, brother. It's like it, and then I look over at my buddy Brent and I see, he's got an office with a few good buddies and a really strong glue style office manager who whips everybody's butt if they get out of line. And and I see that team, how they're cohesive and how they work together and he said it right up. He makes them rich. He pays them so well, they'd never think about leaving him. He's never worried they're going to go do their own thing because they're loaded because of Brent. So he shares with everybody. I think he's probably one of the more generous people in the business in that regard with respect to how he's treating his team. But you don't just get onto Brent Daniels' team. You don't get to be on Brent Daniels' team just walking in some geek off the street. It doesn't work like that. You know, he's got his childhood buddies in that room, like some of his closest brothers and sisters in there helping him. So that's how that worked. Right?
Well, they all want to be great. They all want to push it. They all want to see what their levels are to this thing. You know what I mean? And so, at the end of the day, take the money home. At the end of the day, and another thing that I think is really important that people understand between you and I and the dichotomy of the businesses is you're building something to have an exit.
Yes,
you're building something to sell one day and make hundreds of millions, if not a billion. You know what I mean? Like, you can take less money and you can bring on more partners, and you're not going to be taking home 160 grand, 200 grand a month in that situation. You're pouring it back into the company to build the asset, to build the systems, to get everything to the point where you can exit. I'm not doing that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different thing. Nobody's going to buy my business here in Phoenix. So it just depends. If you're setting it up and you just want this thing to be a cash machine, and you just want this thing to be able to fund all the fun stuff, whether it's a second home, a cabin, a beach home, a rental portfolio, a development company, being a bank, doing these other things, then you don't need an exit. Then why would you have a partner? But if you have partners, if you're going to build something to sell one day, which, by the way, guys, listen, that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, neither of it's easy, but the percentage of exits in this business are like teeny, minuscule, teeny, tiny. You have to have everything aligned. And so it just depends on what you want to do. It just depends. I mean, you could do anything. We make this up as we go. It's all in our vision. What's your vision? Jamil's vision is different than my vision. It's different than Pace's vision. It's different than Jerry's vision. It's different than Steve Trang's vision. But like, have some like, what is that? What is that called?
Awareness.
Yeah, self-awareness. Have some self-awareness. You know what I mean? What makes you truly happy? You're going to die. You're going to be dust and bones. And in 3 generations, nobody's going to go to your grave ever. I'm just telling you.
Change the name of Wholesale Hotline to "You're Gonna Die."
So get to work.
Get to work.
I mean, listen. With enough time, people will stop visiting your gravesite. So what are you going to do now? What are you going to build now? If you have a big vision, if you have a big goal, go bananas. Don't let me or Jamil or anybody influence you. Just go bananas, but just have the self-awareness to know, do you have what it takes to go and do this side or that side? Do you want to go build something that has a big exit, or do you want to build an ATM machine, a cash machine? It just depends. It's awesome. Great show.
Let's end with this one. A New Sun said, you mentioned we need to do our own due diligence as wholesalers. Is hiring a handyman to look the property over good enough, or should it be someone more specialized, i.e. a contractor? Look, I will always get an inspection company to do it. I have a relationship over at Inspectify. If you actually tell them that I sent you, you can get an inspection done anywhere in the country for little over a couple hundred bucks, which is not a lot of money. Especially if you already have a buyer on your property. Think about it this way, okay? You get a deal under contract and you sell it immediately, right? Why wouldn't you get an inspection to understand what's happening in the property anyway, so that maybe there's an opportunity for you to renegotiate and make some more money, right? You should have, and again, you may not start getting real licensed inspections until you have some money, because of course they're a couple $100 a piece. Okay, but when you get to that point, I think it's really good. And our ROI on inspections is disproportionately high. Like, every month we will spend, maybe $10,000 on inspections, and the ROI will be like $260,000. You know what I mean? It's like 25x.
It's a nice return.
when you get a retrade, you get a big retrade, and sometimes it's not warranted. Sometimes there's nothing substantially wrong with the house for you to go and ask for a reduction. It just doesn't exist. But sometimes it does, and when it does, that's when you get to hit it out of the park. Whap.
Awesome. Jamil, what do you got going on this week?
Well, this week I'm headed to Colombia.
All right.
Yes, I'm a really good friend of mine is getting married soon, and he's having a bachelor party. I have no idea why we're going to Colombia, but I guess that's where I'm going. So guys, if I'm not on Wholesale Hotline next week, I have been arrested in Colombia, so find me and figure out how to get me out.
We'll find you. Don't worry. It'll just be you on your cell phone. I
don't know. I was looking at my wife yesterday. I said, how did you talk me into? My wife talked me into going. She talked me into going.
It sounds like a good time. I'd love to. I'm going to go to Colombia someday. I haven't been. I've heard amazing things. So that's awesome.
I'm going to have a good time. I love all you guys. Yep. Wholesale Hotline, guys, at 182 in the bag. Brent, what do you got going on?
Hey, listen, we got some great podcasts that are dropping on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, Wholesale Hotline podcast. If you guys haven't checked it out and you really like this show, definitely check out Wholesale Hotline and on Spotify, on iTunes. Leave us a review. That would mean the world to us. That really helps. And I have some great content coming out on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to Jamil's and Pace's and my own YouTube channel, make sure that you do, and make sure that you fill your head with all this good stuff, right? We're going to give you the instruction. We're going to give you the support. We're going to give you love. We pour that into everything that we do. And so as you're driving, as you're on the treadmill, as you're walking around, whatever it is, put good things in your head. Stay wildly optimistic. Stay wildly positive. We love you guys. I love you, Jamil. Congratulations on that beautiful beach house that you're watching the sunset in. I'm jealous.
I showed you guys what it looked like before the sun is setting over the Pacific Ocean right now. I got the mood light over here. I'm looking out over this. There's couples sitting out on the beach holding hands. People just staring at the waves. And again, all of this brought to you by Wholesale Real Estate.
That's it. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing? I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.